President Xi Jinping says China does not fear unreasonable suppression as tariff war with the U.S. escalates. China retaliates against America's 145% tariff by slapping levies of 125% on U.S. goods. Commerce Minister Algernon Yao says Hong Kong plans to set up economic and trade office in Saudi Arabia. Hello and welcome to TVB News. I'm Melissa Hekalea. President Xi Jinping met with visiting Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez in Beijing today. She said the European Union and China must jointly defend free trade and resist unilateral bullying. Sanchez said Spain and the EU are willing to enhance communication and coordination with China to uphold international trade order. Danny Zhou has the story.
President Xi Jinping welcomed Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez at the Diaoyutai State Guest House in Beijing on Friday morning. She has pledged to enhance bilateral ties with Spain. She told Sanchez there are multifold risks and challenges in the world in the midst of great changes that have not been seen in a century. He said they can only be addressed through international unity and collaboration. Making his first comment on the matter after U.S. President Donald Trump's tariff whirlwind last week, she noted there could be no winners in any trade war, prompting the Spanish leader to say trade wars aren't good. The world needs China and the U.S. to talk. She stressed for over 70 years, China has achieved development through self-reliance and does not fear unreasonable suppression. He said, no matter how the external environment evolves, China will remain confident and focus on its own affairs. She added the EU has a key role to play in ensuring global economic stability in a multipolar world, while China and the EU should continue to open up for collaboration in the pursuit of peace, growth and reform. She noted the two sides' combined economic output has exceeded 1/3 of the world's total. Sanchez said the EU is committed to open and free trade, upholds multilateralism and opposes unilateral tariff hikes. Sanchez is making his third visit to China in 2 years in time for the 20th anniversary of the establishment of a comprehensive strategic partnership between the two nations. The EU increased tariffs on Chinese-built EVs to as high as 45.3% last October, but Brussels and Beijing have begun negotiations on lifting the tariffs through possible commitments to minimum prices. Meanwhile, the Foreign Ministry in Beijing said President Xi is expected to make state visits to Vietnam, Malaysia and Cambodia. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
China has announced it will increase its tariffs on U.S. goods from 84% to 125%. The retaliatory measure will take effect from Saturday onwards. Mimo Singhai reports.
On Friday, Beijing's Ministry of Commerce said the U.S. unilateralism has seriously violated the rules of the World Trade Organization and the world's basic economic operating pattern. The ministry said the U.S. should bear full responsibility for damaging the global market and the system of multilateralism. So far, the U.S. has unleashed a total tariff rate of 145% on Chinese products. The Commerce Authority said U.S. tariff measures on China have turned into a numbers game and do not hold any economic meaning. Beijing also said China would not pay attention to the U.S. if the latter continued to play this game but would fight to the end if America insists on infringing on China's interests. On Wednesday, U.S. President Donald Trump announced a 90-day pause on tariffs for most countries except for China. China urged the U.S. to cancel their reciprocal tariffs so as to rectify their wrongdoing. A spokesperson for the Foreign Ministry said during Friday's press conference that if the United States truly wants to resolve the tariff issue through dialogue and negotiation, it should stop its maximum pressure and reckless actions. He stressed dialogue must be based on equality, respect, and mutual benefit, and compromise and concession are not a way out in the face of the U.S. bullying and hegemony. Mimo Singhai, TVB News.
The escalation of the tariff war started when the White House said the U.S. tariff rate on China will reach 145%. due to a pre-existing 20% duty on those producing fentanyl. That's higher than the 125% that Donald Trump suggested just a day earlier. U.S. stocks tumbled into the red again on Thursday amid lingering uncertainty. Noting there will be transition problems, U.S. President Donald Trump said he would love to get a deal with his Chinese counterpart to end the escalating trade war. Danny Zhou tells us more.
Just a day after Donald Trump abruptly reversed course on global tariffs, his top officials gathered at the White House for a cabinet meeting on Thursday. Trump downplayed the market turmoil as transition cost and transition problems in his defense of the tariff policy and said it's going to be a beautiful thing in the end. The U.S. president confirmed he'd raised tariffs on Chinese imports to 145%. He repeated his unsubstantiated claim that China had taken advantage and ripped off the United States.
They've really taken advantage of our country for a long period of time. They've ripped us off beyond anybody, nobody.
Despite this, Trump said he's still hoping to secure a deal with China. He insisted his personal relationship with President Xi Jinping would be decisive.
All we're doing is putting it back in shape. We're resetting the table. I have great respect for President Xi. He's been, in a true sense, he's been a friend of mine for a long period of time. And I think that we'll end up working out something that's very good for both countries.
CNN reported the White House had made clear to Chinese officials that President Xi should initiate a request to call with Trump. However, Beijing sees it differently and has vowed to fight Trump's trade war to the end. Trump's U-turn leaves China alone in the tariff war, while most countries get a temporary respite. The European Union said it will put its retaliatory 25% tariffs on U.S. goods on hold for 90 days, matching Trump's pause announcement. The White House said as many as 74 countries and regions showed willingness to talk with the U.S. over tariffs, and they have so far received proposals from about 15 trading partners. U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent will be the point person to handle trade negotiations. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
U.S. President Donald Trump offered financial advice on Wednesday morning that ended up making a lot of money for any investor who listened to him. He posted on his social media platform, Truth Social, that it was a great time to buy. Less than 4 hours later, Trump announced a 90-day pause on nearly all his tariffs, except those for China, and stocks jumped on the news. Some Democratic senators on Capitol Hill expressed their concerns about the possibility of insider trading. Daniel Rao tells us more.
Data shown in the minutes before U.S. President Donald Trump's social media post on Wednesday about pausing most tariffs resulted in the U.S. stock market rallying. Some unidentified options traders placed bets worth millions of dollars that the market would rebound. The well-timed bets potentially paid off handsomely. Some Democratic lawmakers are now calling for investigations into whether Trump's policy reversal led to any market manipulation or insider trading. A Republican senator dismissed the allegations.
When the president sends out a tweet saying it's time to buy, you can bet his friends who are in the know are buying. Unfortunately, this became a cash and carry White House. Over and over again, we see evidence of self-dealing and efforts to improve your bottom line net worth with the policies of this administration. I think it deserves the closest scrutiny.
It's pretty obvious that when the stock market's in a dip, that maybe if you have some money, you might consider investing and make some money when it picks back up again. I think any idea of insider trading is ridiculous.
However, some analysts say betting on short-term market swings is common. They argue the trade in question could easily have been placed without any prior knowledge of the coming news, as traders speculate on a market bounce or hedge against one every day. Bets in options markets where traders use equity derivatives often appear in insider trading cases. They allow traders to bet on the direction of the market or individual stocks without having to make a large upfront commitment. In an emailed statement, the White House did not directly address concerns about market manipulation. White House spokesman Kush Desai said it is the president's responsibility to reassure the markets and Americans about economic security in the face of non-stop media fear-mongering. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, which in the past has taken action against insider trading involving options trading, declined to comment. Dan Rao, TV News.
Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Algernon Yao said the government is planning to establish economic and trade offices, or ETOs, in countries including Saudi Arabia. Yao said the government is expecting the worst after the reintroduction of a Trump administration bill which could close down the SAR's ETOs in the U.S. Musin Singhai reports.
At a Legislative Council meeting, Secretary for Commerce and Economic Development Algernon Yao said Chief Executive John Lee and some mainland enterprises will visit the Middle East next month. Yao said authorities plan to set up economic and trade offices in Saudi Arabia and Malaysia as a measure to address the effects triggered by ongoing geopolitical tensions amid U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war. In response to the reintroduction of a U.S. bill which could shut down 3 Hong Kong ETOs in America, Yao said the government is prepared for any changes.
We have put in place the worst-case scenario plan. We have a contingency plan in place. It is rather premature at this stage to disclose any information.
In a media interview, Secretary for Transport and Logistics Mabel Chan also said the Bureau has measures in place to deal with the Trump tariffs. These include expanding the city's maritime network and changing the law to make it easier for the re-export of goods. Musin Singhai, TVB News.
Still ahead, concerns over tariff war on the 30th anniversary of the World Trade Organization. Hong Kong showcases its innovation and technology in its industrial products. And a misty morning in Hong Kong. Welcome back. In an event marking the World Trade Organization's 30th anniversary, its Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala said the negative macroeconomic effects of the tariff war between the U.S. and China will not be confined to the two countries alone. She also talked about the reforms needed for the WTO to improve the system of global trade. Daniel Rao reports.
The Marrakesh Agreement establishing the World Trade Organization was signed by 123 countries on April 15, 1994, leading to the birth of the WTO on January 1, 1995. Over the past 30 years, the WTO has helped to bring about a major expansion in global trade with the objective of raising living standards, increasing employment and promoting sustainable development. WTO Director General Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala stressed the importance of marking the anniversary, particularly in the light of recent tariff-related developments.
The U.S. has some understandable and legitimate concerns about the WTO and the multilateral trading system. Other members, developed and developing, also have concerns of their own. Maybe we could use today's concerns to change the system for the better.
She warned about the damage that could result from U.S. President Donald Trump's bid to engage in a trade war with China.
The negative macroeconomic effects will not be confined to U.S. and China alone, but will extend to other countries, especially the least developed nations. Of particular concern is the potential fragmentation of global trade along geopolitical lines. A division of the global economy into two blocks could lead to a long-term reduction in global real GDP by nearly 7%.
Highlighting the incalculable value for money of an organization that ensures that trillions of dollars worth of global trade are based on rules and trust, Okonjo-Iweala said the WTO is much more than tariffs. The keynote address of the event was delivered by the former Prime Minister of Portugal and President of the European Commission, José Manuel Durão Barroso. He highlighted the WTO's role in lifting 1.5 billion people out of extreme poverty since 1995. He emphasized the need for the WTO in a complex global economy, noting its historic successes like lowering tariffs and increasing global trade to over $30 trillion in 2023. He recalled 30 years ago the United States, Europe and Japan dominated the global economy, and that today global economic power is much more widely distributed. Barroso also cautioned against escalation in trade wars.
What we need today is not trade wars. If you speak about trade wars, we should be speaking about a permanent ceasefire on those wars in any kind of economic war. And we'd like to have the big powers of the world to work together so that they can enhance not only open trade, but also global prosperity. Supporting open, predictable, rules-based economy is exactly why the WTO was created.
Daniel, TVB News.
As Hong Kong grapples with the global trend of technological innovation amid a tense geopolitical environment, an innovation-themed exhibition held at the Science Museum showcases some of the city's latest leaps in technological advancements. This as the chairman of the Federation of Hong Kong Industries urged the city to look beyond the U.S. for alternatives when it comes to industry and innovation opportunities. Timothy Lee tells us more.
Visitors can revel in some of the city's latest advancements in the innovation sector at the Innovative Pathway exhibition held at the Science Museum between today and the 2nd of July. Jointly organized by the Leisure and Cultural Services Department, Federation of Hong Kong Industries and Science Museum, the exhibition features new technology that serves as an engine for the city's economic development. From this food transporter system that liquefies food waste for more efficient transportation, to a wireless charger for electric vehicles, and even an injection molding device that mass produces plastic products. This as the chairman of the Federation of Hong Kong Industries stressed that residents should seek out non-US markets for industrial-related opportunities. He added Hong Kong should not worry about losing access to American technology as a result of the trade war, and emphasized the advancements made in the domestic sector.
We used to focus for a couple of things. For example, first, the market in the whole world except USA are still huge. So besides USA, we should focus on ASEAN, we should focus on Belt and Road, focus on the new market, or even the South American. The second, we should further make use or employing the innovation and technology to make our product better, to make our quality better. For example, the renewable energy like solar or EV, as you know, and recently like AI. Actually, the domestic company from China, they are really in the cutting-edge technology.
Showcasing Hong Kong's innovation and technological solutions, the exhibition at the Science Museum displayed a model of a smart toilet capable of reporting a user's health problems after each use. Just like this, the machine analyzes the user's microbiome in real time to check for any signs of disease. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
A humid southerly airstream is affecting the coast of Guangdong. The city was covered in mist this morning, with the visibility in the harbor dropping below 1,000 meters. The observatory forecasts rainy and cooler weather over the weekend. A hazy horizon. Under the mist, the city's landmark bridges, Tin Kau and Ching Ma, were semi-visible. Some residents carried out their morning exercises along a promenade. The observatory says a humid airstream is affecting the coast of Guangdong, while a trough of low pressure now over central China will develop into cold front on Saturday. Authorities say residents should expect rainy and cooler weather over the weekend. Temperatures will fall to between 17 and 18 degrees Celsius on Saturday and Sunday morning. That's the news. Have a great weekend. Good night.